And Dick, how are you, buddy? How have you
I'm
been?
good. I'm good. Sorry you couldn't see me at first. I don't know what was
Uh,
going on. Hopefully
yeah,
you can hear.
I was looking for you under Dick instead of Richard. So
Ah, ah,
so why don't we talk about what's happening here in the world? In the
yeah.
markets, especially with a weaker dollar. Uh, to do you think that this trend has staying power in the dollar? That you know this breakdown that we've had is the beginning of maybe a multi-week, multi-month trend.
Yeah. Good. Good morning. And it
Good
is
morning.
actually a day in the UK today, so I'm in a very relaxed mood. First off, now, if Gregor is the Elvis of the show, what am I? Am I the Paul McCartney or the?
You're
Or,
Colonel Parker. Well, I'll have to ask Greg, but if you'd like to be, you could be Colonel Parker.
yeah, I think that's probably Little
All right.
Richard, I suppose. Although I'm
All
not so
right.
little.
Oh yeah, yeah. So I mean,
Anyway,
big. These are big turns in the market.
yeah. Yeah.
Uh, so we've been moving sideways. This power area is kind of a
Yeah.
battle zone, isn't it?
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because really, I don't think Powell said anything that surprising at Jackson Hole. I think he just confirmed most people's thoughts, and combined with, as the other panelists were saying, with this massive revision on the unemployment figures, I guess that gave the dollar a good kicking. Um, my and I am a bear of the dollar, and if Blake's still there, he's going to shrug his shoulders. I can't believe what I'm hearing. I actually quite like sterling up at these levels. I think gold
What?
will be good. Yeah, I know it's awful. it's it's the holiday. I hope that it's getting to me. Um,
That's a nice breakout. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I'll come back to sterling in a minute. But I actually don't think Powell said anything that we don't know. I guess it was as much the unemployment figures coming or being revised like that. My question is, what happens if those unemployment figures are so unreliable? How reliable are the inflation figures? Are you going to get massive upward revisions there? Question mark. I don't know. I guess there must be a slight worry about that. We are going to get a cut. I think Powell will be a little bit more cautious than people expect, unless non-farm, which is out a week on Friday, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's worse than expected. I think we'll only see 25 basis points. My gut feeling is that all the bad news for the dollar, the good news for the equity markets is already out there. What is going to follow? What's going to keep this trend going? Um, Sterling, I think, is a separate case. I actually think that we are unlikely to see the Bank of England cut again as rapidly as people think, and maybe not again this year. We've just had a hike in electricity prices over here, and we've got quite large public sector pay rises going through as the Labour government pays back its backers, the
Yeah.
unions, of exerting their power. So I think that you've got some inflationary pressures coming through in the UK, which will keep interest rates higher than anticipated. Hence, very simplistically, buy sterling, sell dollars.
Okay.
Um, will you see inflation come back in the States, and is it dead and buried? Yes, I don't know. What do you think?
Of about what, Dick?
Whether inflation's dead and buried in the States, or whether it's going to
No, I think it's like the 70s. We just went through round one.
yeah,
That over the decade there'll be another couple to where, just like there was in the 70s.
yeah,
They had to have a tightening regime more than once, and before Volcker got very draconian. I
yeah,
don't think it'll be a Volcker. It'll be the market just not wanting our debt and rates spike and just, a lot of debt and no demand
yeah,
to get those kind of rates. But I wanted to ask you. Everyone's like, I agree with you in a way, but I mean, really, does the Fed lead the market, or did the market lead the Fed into this decision? I mean, we had a nice breakdown here. I mean, right here
yeah.
was 50 bips. Okay, this is 50. So the market set the stage for what Paul was going to do, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's really being an old man. You know, you're a few
Yeah,
years You know,
Us
but
two old codgers.
we both
Huh?
been block a few times. I looked at the
Yeah.
market. I thought this is really strange, right? So you've got bond yields dropping because we're heading into a recession. I
And you have
understand.
stock prices recovering because everything's okay,
Yeah. So you know,
which is right. I actually heard a guy that said the bond market's wrong.
unusual. You know, I mean,
Hmm.
going back to don't fight the Fed, don't fight the bond market. They both tend to be good maxims, but it does feel like one of them is wrong. And I just wonder whether equities have decoupled totally from reality, and they just look at liquidity in the market. And if the Fed's going to pump liquidity into the market, then you buy equities. I'm not
Or
recommending.
Bitcoin. You buy everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Everything. I mean, with the dollar going down, everything looks good. Gold looks good.
yeah,
The market looks good.
yeah,
Even WTI, which was left for dead, that's coming
yeah,
out of here.
yeah.
So
Gold,
I mean, it's
gold has
the
been interesting though, isn't it?
what
Is it telling us something?
the
Gold,
dollar?
no, gold.
Oh yeah, that there's a lack of confidence
Yeah,
in what's going on. So it's a store of value. It's same reason people are buying Bitcoin.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's down today, but you could almost
It's kind
make the
of
case that it
a,
could go to 100,000 if
yeah.
we're going to
Mm.
have a melt up in equities again.
But are they really going to pump that much liquidity into the market? I think that as I started off saying, all the good news is in the market. I think now um, you've got an election on November the 5th, our Guy Fawkes night, celebrating the ruination of Parliament in this country. Uh, who's going to win? To me, it looks a lot closer than it did before Biden resigned as an outsider. And if Harris does win, what impact does that have? Question mark. I think if Trump wins, it's probably an easier play to work out what to do. But I think it's very hard to argue that neither of them will be inflationary for the markets, inflationary in their policies. Uh,
Both of them, yes, both of them,
both of
either
them,
of them. Yeah,
yeah.
okay, yeah.
So I think that's something which the market's totally discounting. And also, I still look at what's going on in the Middle East, and I know Blake's going to have a wry smile because I've been harping on about this for months and months and months. I think the markets are much too relaxed about that. I think they're much too relaxed about the impact on world trade that what the Houthis are doing and the Red Sea's are doing. So I
You
still see
mean
an
you're
inflation.
talking supply chains?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So I still see inflation coming back at some point in the not too distant future. But you don't. The market wants to do what the market wants to do. I just think that they've got ahead of themselves again.
Okay, so getting back to the Middle East, in you know your lifetime,
Yeah,
have you ever seen so much geopolitical risk in the
never.
world since maybe you were a little boy during World War II?
No, that's, that's a bit harsh. I,
when
I
you when you
I
had
meant,
to go through the Blitz in
oh yeah,
London,
it was tough.
when
Oh,
do you,
it was
do you
bloody
remember how
awful.
old were you then when you
The noise in the background to the blitz when you're trying to train those Germans, I always say, "Shut up, give me a break." I guess the
anyway,
first,
Blake makes me even older than that. So
yeah.
anyway, so
Um,
um,
but all
yeah,
joking
I think
aside,
what do you know? What do you think of this, Dick? Um, there could be, there are a lot of shorts in energy here.
yeah,
Okay, a lot of, like you were saying, complacency about geopolitics and what's happening in the Middle East. If we get through 82, it would measure 113. How about an oil spike to probably even help the Fed's case because the consumer is already kind of stretched out.
Yeah.
So higher gas, they judge the economy by gas prices. So
Yeah.
could we? I mean, most people don't remember oil shocks. You have to go
Uh,
back. That's 50 years since we had to deal with anything like that,
when
right?
when I was first in the market, if you don't, it was my first year.
All
72
right.
or 3, wasn't it? The first oil shock?
In what, 73?
Yeah, I think
The
so.
oil embargo. Yeah.
Yeah. And I wouldn't bet against it, although the States is very self-reliant on oil. I mean, it hits the rest of the world. Um, but again, I think you've got to look at politics. Yeah, what's going to happen between now and November? Is it really going to kick off in the Middle East? It seems to be threatening and threatening and threatening, and not really famous last words. Please God that it doesn't sort of escalate. But I'm very really nervous of it. I can't remember a time when there's been so much geopolitical risk, and of course, that nice Mr. Putin's got a bit of a black eye and a bloody nose in the last couple of weeks. Is he going to just sit there and take that, or is he going to get deposed in something? Everyone assumes if Putin goes that you're going to go change a regime which is more friendly towards the West, but I think that's not nailed on. So I think there
No, it
are
isn't.
so many um,
No,
issues,
there's escalation there. There's escalation everywhere
isn't
in
there?
both wars. Um, uh, they are, I believe, Belarus is massing some troops, calling it military exercises. So
Yeah,
maybe
and it's
Russia. I thought by now he would have used a tactical nuke.
I've got to say I can't disagree with you. And Europe's got a war on its doorstep, and people seem to be ignoring that. I don't see that sort of in risk scenarios, uh,
Yeah, no, a lot of
particularly, and
yeah.
that's what I find real
I
strange.
I wanted to ask, if this is a longer term trend down in the dollar, and
Yeah,
say cable has the 140s in it, and euro has 120 in it. With the numbers coming out of Germany recently, that they're already weak, and
yeah.
they're a pretty big export based economy. Uh, a stronger euro isn't going to be helpful, is it?
No, not at all. I mean, the German numbers this morning were, was it the IFO numbers came out that are not good. You've had a really poor run of figures in Germany. And a strong. It's not going to help them, and I think that again, uh, they are in a mess. I think their manufacturing's in a mess, but also I think that you've got to look at politics and what's going on in Europe
Yeah,
as a whole. And despite what the UK swinging to the left of centre, electing a Labour government, Europe is more and more right wing and becoming stronger and stronger right wing, and reacting to the immigration problems we've got. So I can
yeah,
see increasing political uh, uncertainty in Europe. And don't rule out Russia interfering and Iran interfering in our domestic politics. I think there's a fair bit of that going on. So I feel very uncomfortable, I've got to say.
yeah. It's like an anxiety level that's constantly out there,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
right? So,
yeah. I don't know
um,
whether you're immune to that over there or not, but I mean, certainly in Europe, I think people are aware. But generally, I don't think they're as aware of the potential for something going really wrong as they were maybe back in the 80s here, when we genuinely did fear escalation from Russia and we did fear nuclear war, much more so than now. And I think people just think, oh, it ain't ever going to happen, which is normally when it does.
yeah, okay. So, anything you a follower of Bitcoin? You have a view
Yeah,
as a dollar
yeah,
alternative? This should
yeah.
be supportive of Bitcoin, a bear market in the dollar, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's absolutely right, and I think it is supportive. And I also think that easing a policy is supportive of Bitcoin. People look more and more to alternative assets, and I think there's a whole generation of people, more sort of youngsters like Blake,
Yeah.
who are fonder of digital assets than us old fogies. But I think, yeah, I'm a fan of Bitcoin. I'd be long at Bitcoin. I'd be long at gold, and
Yeah.
cash.
Yeah. So that's one of the nicest looking bull flags I've seen in a while.
Yeah, yeah,
Right. So you have a flagpole from 15 grand to 75, that's 60. Breakout here is
yeah.
at 68. That gives you 128 Bitcoin.
Phew. Looks good, doesn't it?
That's
I've
just
got.
a measured move off this. Anyway, that's a crypto gift for people watching Dick and I today. And so I don't know really where to leave it, Dick, except your business is important. And it's something we talked about before this happened about diversifying out the dollar and
Yeah,
stuff. So, you know, um,
yeah. I think,
people should contact you.
yeah, exactly. But I do, just before I go, I do think that there is this. Yeah, I don't know whether you know, my mother is American. I'm always very, very proud to be half American, and I always support America when I can and stick up for America. But certainly, when I've been in the broad stroke of a comment in the Middle East and talking to people in the Middle East, there is a definite feeling of people turning against the dollar and wanting to look at alternatives ways to do business, and increasingly that they are using Bitcoin to do transactions. And I think there is this, like, I hate the word de-dollarization, but I think there is a swing against the dollar, which can only help Bitcoin. I think they're wrong, but it can only really help Bitcoin.
Okay. All right. So Bitcoin has a lot of things going for it. President Trump owns $1 million worth of crypto, was
Yeah,
disclosed.
yeah,
I don't know about the other side if they own any, but I'm sure they'll support a CBDC.
yeah,
I'm sure anyone who has power and wants more would support a CBDC.
yeah,
So yeah, that's I always thought, and it is conspiratorial. People would call me conspiracy guy. That what better way to get Americans to accept something? First, introduce crypto, let them get used to it, right? So it's not
yeah,
a new thing. They, maybe they bought Solana or some of these coins, and then have a problem with the dollar, like going to 90, and that's like another 10% loss, and or even lower, and people knowing they're losing purchasing power because they're seeing prices go up again, and them being more willing to embrace something that's sold as more stable and convenient, and you can't catch a cold or
yeah.
monkeypox or COVID from handling cash. Huh?
I,
What do you think?
I don't know about the catching COVID from handling cattle. There's a lot of COVID over here at the moment. I
Yeah.
think that there is a whole generation of people who look at the States, and I don't just mean in America, I mean worldwide, and look at the amount of debt, and the numbers are just mind-boggling, and the constant devaluation of the currency just by the issuance of debt. Or is it a trillion every quarter or something?
Yeah.
Just mind-boggling numbers, and I think people are starting to see that. And there's, you and I are brought up believing in the mighty dollar, but there's a whole generation who now question it, and I think that does help Bitcoin
Well,
and other cryptos.
I do too. For a while, um,
Yeah,
I think that we could trade down here
really.
and
Ooh,
maybe lower. Yeah, I mean it's a measured move, right?
yeah,
Right. Just for
yeah,
cover it up because it'll look radical if you know it's a dollar, but just cover up the chart.
yeah, yeah,
114 for minus 14 minus 100. It's
yeah.
actually down here. It's like 88, 86.
Uh, and what's that do to prices?
It's got to make everything more expensive.
Expensive. Yeah,
But the exporters in the U.S. might be the place to be. And you know, it might be something like you would think, and I've been thinking this for a long time and have been wrong, that with the dollar weakening, besides silver, silver loves a bear market
Yeah.
in the dollar, but you would think that they might start looking at something like this, something like this,
Yeah.
something like this. You know, those grains are
Yeah.
pretty cheap.
But
So
I,
maybe China will come back. They've been buying elsewhere, you know,
I've got a friend who trades softs.
grains.
He couldn't
Yeah,
understand. He said he couldn't understand the differential between, I can't remember if it was corn and live cattle or wheat and live cattle, but live cattle was really bullish,
yeah,
and corn and wheat were really weak. And there's sort of like no logic behind that.
yeah. Well, I think it's supply of cattle. You know, a lot
Yeah.
of them get, yeah, and a good harvest. Um, but the harvest isn't in yet. So we'll see. Looks like, you know, you have some basing action going on. That monthly was a little longer term, but it's a shot, don't you think? I mean, maybe buying some corn calls down here
Yeah.
or some wheat calls down here. You
Is
know,
is that is that a bet on the weather?
it's probably a bet on, um, I think China, you know, the world not buying a lot of our grain because there were weaker currencies. Now the
Right.
dollar's weakening. Um, you know, with the weaker dollar, they're cheaper than 960, right?
Yeah.
10% cheaper in and
Yeah.
7% cheaper in the last few months, right?
Yeah. And of
Besides
course,
the
that's the
price.
impact of Ukraine.
Yeah.
Ling-
Anyway, uh, Dick, best way for people to get in touch with you when they, you know, want to talk about what's going on and talk currencies with you, best way for
Yeah.
people to do that.
I'm on Twitter with, and my handle is at Dickie Matthews, but the S is actually a 5.
Oh,
Or you
okay.
can or
All
you
right.
can get hold of me through LinkedIn easily. I'm on LinkedIn quite a lot,
Oh, you
and
do a lot of that there. Okay, so
there I am.
here's Dick
There's
where you
my
can
yellow
find him.
submarine.
Look at that, the yellow submarine.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
the boys are down there.
yeah.
All
It's
right,
A Lego yellow submarine. I
all
love
right. Watch. I tell you what,
it.
you
Quite
brought. You know,
embarrassing.
I'm gonna go put my beetle boots on now, bro,
Good man.
and my beetle jacket. So, Dick, always great catching up with you and talking to you. And I hope we're wrong about what's happening in the
So
Middle
do I.
East. All right, brother.
Please God, we are, and I'll catch up with you all soon.
All right. Dick
Cheers
Matthews,
out.
everyone. Follow
Cheers.
Dick at Dickie Matthews 5 on
You got it.
X. And
Maybe a
check
yellow
the,
submarine is the safest place.
okay. And, you know, if you need to do some stuff overseas, need some help with payments, get in touch with him about this too. All right. Well,
Fantastic.
thanks. Thank you, Dick.
Cheers, Dale. Catch you soon. Cheers.
All
Bye
right.
bye.
All
Bye,
right,
Blake.
everyone. Everyone
Bye.
have a great rest of the day. You could join the team in about 16 minutes on the morning edge. Good hunting, and don't just count your pips, count your blessings. Okay, you're very welcome, Laura, Marcus, all you guys, John, fertilizer, sunspots. Yes, there are sunspots. All right. All right. Adios, everyone. Take it easy.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Forex Analytics. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.